Hello, namaste, and last but not least, hola to all of my friend Ryes and beautiful fries around the world. Fries on Ryes here with another episode of the Fries on Ryes Let's Play series. In the last episode, we managed to collect this beautiful donkey here, as well as another horse for our horse collection. Um, Today's episode is a headache. Oh my goodness. I'll admit that I have tried recording after recording after recording and it is just chaotic. I don't know how to express the things that I want to express throughout this video. Um because it's Valentine's Day and I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. So, happy Valentine's Day. And it is currently Friday though, the 13th for me. So bad luck for some people, but it is what it is. And thus tomorrow is going to be Valentine's Day. But the other half of the hemisphere is still currently celebrating Valentine's Day. And I know this video is a bit late, so I apologize for that. Um, but I'm just going to post it. At this point, I've done so many recordings and I realize that no matter what, I'm going to ruffle some feathers, and there's nothing I can do about that. So, yeah, I'm just gonna just wing it, I guess. Um, but to start off, I wanted to make an announcement that I'm getting engaged. And I think, like many people when I was younger, I wanted to have a partner and my own home. I had this expectation that life would just bring itself to me and I would have my own car and my own computer and I would have uh, I would have everything and I would be this great person. I had this expectation that I would uh, just know who I was and what I was doing, where I would go, what I would want to do. And for the longest time that wasn't happening. Um, I had hopes and dreams, but it stayed as hopes and dreams. It never turned into action. And looking back now, I'm not proud of the person I have become because I'll admit I am a lazy person who, for one reason or another, does not put in the effort to maintain his life. Um, I've taken life for granted and I'm ashamed of it, to be honest. Um, but I want this to be a story about love and growth for Valentine's Day. And because because I'm able to reach this point in my life where I'm able to look back and take take account of what I've done, what I've become, where I'm headed. Um, I think I can start to make changes to be the kind of person that I want to be now. But I for sure was not putting in the effort or the footwork to be that person before. Now, some change you're not going to see because, I mean, these videos are just me playing Minecraft and trying to share my fries on rice idea. And like this experiment with the food, it's just me trying to uh, I don't know, just making my fries on rice dream come true. Um, the fries on rice is one of the first few steps I've took towards loving myself, and I think that was the thing that was missing in my journey throughout my life. Um, I was taught to love and respect others, but for all the good that's done for me, it also kind of made me give up on life in a way. Um, because I never thought I could have my own things. Just if I deserved it, it would come my way. And whenever it came, I'd be ready. But uh, lots of horses here. Um, I'm not gonna say my journey I took alone, but it really felt that way. Um, for all that I did for others, it feels a little crushing that I have nothing to show for it. But at the same time, I wasn't trying to show anything, and I was just trying to be present and help others and kind of live my life until I die because I thought that's what life was, just doing things for others. And at some point, some of that started to change, and I began to look at myself and try to make changes that I could be proud of. I'm not fully there yet to actualizing the person that I wanted to be, but I'm taking steps little by little. Um, okay, I can't multitask, so I'm gonna finish this book here. Organize this. Day 19. And I have 200 left. Oh, I think that's it. Um, I don't know. Uh, but I've woken up and I want to make some changes. Um, oh, the last potato is grown. Okay, I've got everything grown here. That is awesome. Now I can go collect some leads for the horses. But to be honest, I'm a little distracted trying to organize my thoughts, so I might just wander around and stuff. Uh, but life has definitely been a journey, and trying not to offend people is just impossible. So I don't know why I'm having such a hard time trying to express my journey and my feelings. But all in all, I I'm I'm making some changes for myself to grow in the future. Rather, I have grown as a person, and thus I am making some changes in myself uh, to be a better person. Now, the journey of life is such a strange and wonderful thing because we all experience it differently. And it's strange to think that we also share a lot of things in common. So maybe you didn't want to live at a specific town, but you probably wanted a home. And chances are you probably wanted to be the one who was in charge of the home. I'm sure you wanted to not be alone and have a partner, or at least thought about it to some degree. Um, and I don't know, life is just life. It's hard to talk about personal growth without talking about the experiences that I've had in my life. And I'm honestly quite ashamed of some of those experiences because my parents, when I was growing up, my parents never pushed their beliefs on me. They kind of just wanted me to be the best person I could be, and they tried to guide me the best they could. But being working parents, uh, they didn't have that opportunity to always be with me. And at some point, I was so old that, well, I was a teenager and I wanted to do my own things. And I didn't focus on the things that would help me be the person that I wanted to be. So I didn't do my homework. I never practiced doing chores. I never thought about asking if I could help with the lawn. And these are small basic things, but I thought I would have my own home and I would take care of all those things because I would just know to do it. So the way that you see animals, somehow they know how to build a nest, and they know how to attract others, and they just seem to have everything figured out. I was kind of living like an animal, and I thought I had everything figured out, and I just had to do things, and it would come to me. But what I didn't realize was there's a lot of effort and footsteps that need to be taken from an individual level. Um, my journey of self love is a bit chaotic and hectic because I didn't know how to love myself for a long time. I was taught to love others and respect others and sacrifice what I didn't need so that someone else could have something that was needed for them. And though in the end I feel I have no regrets towards helping others, I feel regret that I haven't loved myself and helped myself grow in my journey. And I guess I'm hoping this is a wake up call for some people. If not a wake up call, just another example of life's greatness. um, but at this point, I guess I have to make changes, and a lot of people would encourage one to say that I should give it up to God, I guess, that I'm able to be here. And yeah, maybe that's valid. But a lot of those people, they didn't teach me how to love myself. And honestly, it's hard to want to say that I'm of a certain faith or religion when the people don't seem to really believe what they're teaching. Um, I feel like people have sharp tongues and they're silver tongued. They're able to say all these elegant things that seem to make sense, and I just have to agree with them because I have no way to argue with them. And that's a lack of footwork on my part because I want to surround myself with these people that have these beliefs, but I don't try to understand their belief on my own individual level. So I haven't read the Bible, for example, fully on my own. And your journey is going to look much different from mine, but for me, the next step in my journey is to read the Bible. I want to read it before I get married. Um, yeah, this is hectic. This is chaotic. I don't know what I'm saying. I know I love you, and I don't need the Bible to tell me that. And there's a lot of people who, to someone who is having a hard time figuring out where your faith lies, all I can say is you can't you can't wait for God to give you uh, what you want. I know it's a Christian belief that if you give up your life for Him and you pray, you'll get what you want. Sometimes you won't, and everything's vague and blah 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 blah. But I'm here to spread the message of Fries on Rise, which I hope is a positive message, but it's my understanding of the world and where I want the world to go. It's very selfish. It's me oriented. It's not, I suppose it's not necessarily focused on God, but I want to invite, if God exists, I want to invite God on this journey with me to experience Fries on Rise because I think God would love Fries on Rise in the direction Fries on Rise is going. I'm not going to say I'm Jesus because I am definitely not a smart person. I am very uneducated. I have all these terrible habits. I'm nowhere near the person Jesus was. In fact, I'm nowhere near the person a lot of great people are, or even neutral people. I'm probably one of the bad people in the world. And I think that despite all that, I want to share what's good with the world. And I don't know what good is. It seems like good is this thing that as soon as you try to define it, you're either a bigot or you don't know what you're talking about because there's no proof for it. And it's hard because there's a lot of positive things that I've learned through my time with being surrounded by Christianity. But the biggest message that I believe God has sent me, and other people can argue this all they want, but I believe whether you believe in the Bible or not, whether you believe in religion or not, if you think about what the Bible is and who it's about and what that message was that that person wanted to send, whether it's fictional or non-fictional, Jesus wanted to share his love, and he was sick of the people who claim to know God and be his preachers, his deacons, God's representatives. These people who preach so much about salvation, Jesus looked at those people and called them vipers. He looked at those people and he said, "You guys are sending people to hell while living a lush and lavish life. You're not doing the work of God. You're not sharing his message the way that he has intended it to be spread." And I think just like that, in the modern world, the people are basically the same way. They have missed the point of what the Bible is, and they're so steadfast in their beliefs that they're not willing to renew their hearts and open their minds and eyes to the new world that we live in. Back then, at that time, um, there was a lot of wars going on, a lot of chaos, a lot of not knowing uh, what the world was. It was a lot of selfishness from leaders trying to rule the world, and in the end, they couldn't rule the whole world because it was bigger than they thought it was. But now we're at a point in time where we can look at the whole world and say, oh, this is where we live. This is where my neighbors live. Not only that, but we can understand one another's language. We can set a time, we can set apart our selfish desires and say, like, I want to grow and learn with you. I want to try out your new foods. I want to watch the movies that you guys grew up on. I want to, I want to share what I've experienced, and I want to share what you've experienced. And we're living in this great world, but some people are hung up on old rules that, they applied to people back then, and maybe some of the rules can apply to us now. But some people are so much more focused on the rules that they forget that there's a human on the other side of the words that are being spoken. There's someone with feelings and thoughts and their own journey and their own ideas, and it's important to love one another. And I don't know how to bring this up without bringing up uh, real world topics, but it made me sad to hear that some people were so disappointed in the Super Bowl that they made their own Super Bowl, or their own Super Bowl halftime show. And God, there's people who believe in speaking in tongues, and that there's two tongues, in my opinion. There's the gibberish that we speak on our own that maybe God can understand, um, but the other speaking in tongues is speaking another person's language. And Jesus gave this ability to speak other languages to his followers. And somehow, the people who call themselves loving Christians have missed the point that it's loving to speak another person's language, and they have decided that I don't like the fact that this person is speaking a different language, and I'm going to blame it on the seductive messaging behind their songs. But this person doesn't deserve it, and it's un-American. And that is just wrong. Because if you didn't complain about Shakira's halftime show, why on earth are you complaining about someone who, if you can't even understand the language, right? And you want to say that, oh, it's too sexual. I'm sorry, what was Shakira? Like, the logic doesn't flow. And I think there's a lot of sexual imagery in our society, and a lot of it is bad, but some of it is also cultural, and a lot of it is just accepting others and controlling ourselves. And some people just choose to hate others instead of love, and I don't want to be a part of that world. So I'm not going to say you need to read the Bible. Um, but I'm not going to say you need to be a Christian, but maybe reading the Bible is a good step towards learning to love yourself and others. Don't go to what someone else go don't go to someone else who has a predetermined idea of what the Bible is, because chances are they don't want to grow. They're happy where they're at with their negative beliefs. And it's not all Christians. I don't want to push you away from people who can genuinely help you grow and grow with you. But based on what society has shown me, the modern Christian is basically the Jews of the past, and Jesus, at the very least, would be very disappointed. Maybe I'm going to hell, but at the very least, I can still send the message and say that you're not doing so hot yourself either if you're judging people and you're full of negativity and hate. Because a lot of people loved the Super Bowl, and are you going to call them un-American because they show love for another group of people? I think loving others is what Jesus wanted us to do. We are at the pinnacle of man's, maybe not the pinnacle of man's existence. Maybe there's space travel after this in a few decades, who knows how long. But we're not going to go anywhere except ruin if we decide that these religious texts are the be all. I don't know the phrase, but if we decide that I don't know, organized religion, I have mixed feelings about it. I really didn't want to talk about religion, but I don't know how else to talk about love, because it's it's this complicated thing. It's just a thing that exists whether we can prove it or not. And I think it's good to have love. I think it's good to share things. I think it's good to learn from one another. Not not what I've seen throughout my life. It's not that God doesn't have a good message. I think God's message is good. But the people who claim to follow him, there's a part in the Bible where Jesus is talking to Nicodemus, and he says you have to be born again. And being born again is something that I think a lot of people have said that they have done, that they've become born again and they're a new creation in Christ and all this stuff. But I think they're probably like Nicodemus, where they just learned something new about themselves and they thought that, oh, now I'm a different person, now I'm a better person, and therefore everything that's good applies to me, and blah, blah, blah. But we're not going to have all the answers for everything, and life is a journey. It's meant to be shared with one another. You know, Jesus said no one knows when the time will be for the return of for his return or anything else like that. Like, no one knows what the God's plan is. And if that's true, then why are we so worried about hating others and wanting things our way, instead of learning to accept where other people are and where they've come from, so we can figure out, oh, do they need a change, or maybe do I need a change? A lot of my growth has been because I wanted to do things for others, and lately it's been for myself because, I want to be happy too. And Fries on Ryes has made me happy because I'm doing Fries on Ryes for other people, not for God, but for others. And I think God would love to be a part of this if he's real, because it sends a message that Jesus would have sent, which is love others, commune with others who are different from you, and share what you can so you can become better versions of yourself. I know Fries on Ryes is a vegetarian restaurant, but the reason I think it's important to have a vegetarian restaurant in this world is because there's a lot of vegetarians out there who have made the choice not to eat meat for one reason or another. Whether it's because they love animals and they don't want to hurt them, which even I even have opinions about that. And plants are alive too. Why eat just plants, you know? It's kind of silly. But I also believe that there is no safe place for a lot of vegetarians to go so that they can eat the food that makes them comfortable. Because yeah, life is a little uncomfortable and we should get used to discomfort sometimes. But eating is a sacred thing because the first thing after creating the world that God did, the first form of life he created was food. He created plants, supposedly. I don't. The sciencey part, I've got some opinions about how some things could have went and what they can mean, but I'm not a scholar and I have just that my own opinions. And I'm hoping that I don't know. I'm just gonna post this episode. It's chaotic. I've gone a little over my time, but I guess try to recap before I head off. I'm getting engaged. That led me to think about my past and my future as well as my present. In the process, I realized that I needed to make a lot of changes because I was expecting the changes to come to me, and if I wasn't expecting the changes to come to me, I was expecting others to fill in the gap for where I wasn't capable. Now I'm to the point where I want to be the change for others and I want to share a positive message. I want to share Fries on Rise. I want to share love and trust and community because America to me is the most America to me is Jerusalem. I think Jerusalem, maybe not Jerusalem, whatever the Bible says about when he's here and his kingdom will come and it's going to be whatever that name was. I think it was Jerusalem. But whatever my lack of belief and my lack of understanding says, this is America. America, has the potential to turn into Babylon. America has the potential to try to reach God and say that we understand everything and we know everything and we want to be better than God and we want to reach God and we speak every language and blah blah blah. But I think instead of Babylon, we have what it takes to turn ourselves into Jerusalem. Again, I'm not sure if that's the right word, the right place, but we have that opportunity as a community to make that kingdom come into fruition. Because I don't know about you, I don't know where you live, but the region that I grew up in is a melting pot. There are so many races, so many religions, so many personalities, so much that has been present in my life, and it is all beautiful. Um, when man took from the fruit of good and evil, I think what they decided to do at that point was make their own decision for what they thought was good and what they thought was right for themselves. And that's what we're doing right now. But I like to believe that it's easy to uh, rid ourselves of that fruit, if not because Jesus sacrificed himself for us, but because there's evidence that we are capable of change. Um, this episode is going to get long, and so I'm just going to end it with a couple verses. The first one is if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. And there's another one. Why is where someone asked Jesus, why is this man born blind? Did he sin or did his parents sin? And Jesus said, it's not that anyone sinned, but that he may be, but it is so that God may share his glory and works through this man. Now, I don't know what struggles you're going through, and maybe you feel like you're like that blind man who it wasn't your fault. You just happened to end up in this position. Maybe you did something, maybe you didn't. But to the moving mountains verse, I have this, I guess, theory, but my own secular opinion of this verse that is probably going to be unpopular amongst a crowd who is more seasoned. But I think, like Nicodemus, you need a renewing of your minds, and you need to accept that some people have a different vision, because that vision is of the same world. And instead of hating that vision, maybe you should try to just look at it in another perspective. Open your mind. The mountain that I believe Jesus is referring to is our physical body. The reason I think that is because our physical body, everything we know about it, we can prove something or another. Our body is made of flesh and bone, which is made of the materials that we eat. It's made of this process of growth that happens after parents decide that they want to become parents. So rather after people decide they want to become parents. We grow as people and we change, and a lot of circumstances determine a lot of our habits and our feelings. But the faith part, the faith that size of the mustard seed, it's small, and it made me think, you know what else is small? Our soul. Maybe our soul encompasses our whole body. Maybe our soul is just this tiny, tiny piece of us that is hard to detect. But there's no definition of, like, no understanding of what a soul is in the physical world. Otherwise, I think if we figured out what a soul was physically, there would be less fighting in terms of religion. We would all have a better understanding and just be like, oh, this soul is a person. This soul is the feeling of being alive. And what I think the soul is us, whatever our being is, whatever makes us on this other plane of existence, possibly, and maybe even parallel to this world that we're living in right now. Maybe our soul is alongside us, but it is this powerful thing that presses into the physical world, and it makes changes. It moves the mountains. So faith moves mountains. Faith, our soul, moves our body. And that seems simplistic, and it seems to make, like, oh well, yeah, what else, you know? But there's no evidence of a soul, and it's not something provable. We just know that we exist and we feel things, and our guts really determine our moods. And honestly, on my own, it's difficult to make some sacrifices and say that I'm going to eat healthier, because my body has grown so accustomed to the garbage that I put into it. My brain neurons, they've built so many roads and pathways that basically enforce a unhealthy lifestyle. not just unhealthy, but unproductive and unhelpful to others. And my soul, despite all the habits and the teachings of the world on my body, all the imprints and changes that have happened, I know that I can struggle against what I have become and force new networks in my brain. I can force new patterns to happen because I want it to. And I think those patterns, the consciousness, the decision to make those changes, people are still trying to figure out what that is. And I believe if we just accept one another, for example, if you're religious, if you accept atheists, and if you're atheist, accept that maybe there's something else out there, maybe that you don't understand. Like, accept what a soul is, because honestly, we have a definition for a soul. Maybe we don't agree on where it comes from or how it's supposed to guide our lives, but I think we pretty much know what a soul is. And like some things, I think we should have faith and trust that it is what it is. Um, I don't know why I like the things that I like the color purple. But when I was young in grade school, I picked the color purple because we had to pick a color to work on a project. And to no fault, nothing against the teacher, because I've grown to know myself better through that experience. And I have learned that I love the color purple. I don't know why. It's just who I am. I don't know if it's because of my parents. I don't know if it's because of something that happened in life. But I love the color purple. And what this teacher did at that time was they changed my understanding of myself. They said that purple was a girl's color and that I should pick something else. And maybe it was a little bit of racism. I didn't think about it that way at the time, but I vividly remember being given the color brown and being told this is a boy's color, pick this. I didn't want brown, not because I hated it, but it wasn't a color that appealed to me. And I picked green. So for a while, I thought green was one of my favorite colors. I still love green. And throughout my life, I had some things that anchored me to the color green. But eventually, I came back to the realization that I love purple. And there's some things that are in our nature that we can explain, and some things we can't. And I believe that you are loved. I love you, and yeah, I'm going to just end it here. Whew, I am ranty. I want to rant. I want to speak, but I am uneducated, and I am not ready to be someone who can properly guide you. All I can do is build my own path and hope that you learn from it, either make better decisions or help me make better decisions. And maybe you see something that I don't see, and maybe we can converse about something some more. But for now, let's call it an episode and see what the world, see what, you know, our souls has to offer us for tomorrow. Um, I, for one, I don't know. I have a lot of hopes and dreams, and there was one more thing not in the Bible, but there was a story I heard about a saint who a demon had approached him, hidden and disguised as a human. And the demon said, "Can I enter into heaven?" I'm basically he told the preacher basically that he was the demon, but because he was disguised as a human, I don't know what the preacher was thinking. But the preacher basically said, "Okay, well, I will pray on it and come back to me tomorrow, and I'll give you an answer." And God told him basically that demon a demon can't change his nature. However, because I am a loving God, and this is the part that people seem to miss, they mistake a person's actions for their nature. And God said basically, whether you want to believe it or not, because again, this isn't from the Bible, um, God said that if this demon repents and changes his ways, I will accept him into my kingdom. And I don't know if you feel like that, demon, but when I was younger, one of the things that I believed so much was that the the devil was no different from us, and maybe the devil can't make it to heaven, and maybe that's something I'll figure out later. But I believed that people misunderstood the devil, and that's relevant because I feel that I would be in that position of the devil where I have all these gross habits that I I just let my pride, my greed, my lust, my gluttony, just all these sins consume who I am because I think I can control them. And maybe I can't, but I want to make the change and be a different person. I want to repent for myself, if not to God, to those around me who have put in their effort to try to see, um, to basically get me into heaven. The last thing I'm gonna say, because again, I keep saying the last thing and I keep moving on. But if wherever you're at in life, oh, uh, trust yourself to make the right decision, because whether there's a heaven or not after this life, I believe I'm living in heaven right now with you. I believe that the sign that you are alive is a sign of heaven being a real place. In the Bible, it says that there's earth is like a shadow of heaven, and I think there's all kinds of stuff that I don't fully know yet, and maybe I'll be more understanding later. Um, it says, "God, your will be done on heaven, on earth as it is in heaven." And I think about a lot of things, and I think that we choose to be in heaven or hell. And if it's not a choice, it's because the people around us have misguided us to believe we are where we are at. So, yeah, maybe you don't like the world we live in, but I think God's heaven includes hell in it, because if it didn't, then while we were there, we would take it for granted. And I woke up in hell realizing that I am not the great person that I want to be. But tomorrow I want to wake up in heaven because I have changed those neural pathways and become the person I want to be. And I believe that's possible. I believe we can have heaven on earth because earth is this beautiful blend of both heaven and hell. And if you want to preach the message of hell, I'm sorry, it's not that I don't want to listen, but I've already accepted that I am in hell because, this flesh is difficult. It's hard. And there's a lot of gross things that happen in the world that are unexplainable. A lot of abuse of power, a lot of destruction and chaos and hatred. That's hell because it is alive and it is in this world. But my body was made by my parents, it was made by love. And whatever a soul is, I believe that it's going to make it to heaven. I'm not always going to be feeling pain because I will make the changes to be a better person. And every time I have made the choice to be a better person in the past, I have always been rewarded. So I'm hoping, even if I can't call myself a Christian, because honestly, I'm kind of saddened by the direction a lot of people have went. I want to say I have hope for whatever it is in the future, whether it's the future of this world or the future in the next world. I have hope, and I want you to have hope too. Wherever you can find hope, I want you to hold on to it and just organize your hopes and your dreams. And even if you don't turn into that person that you want to be, I think having that hope and that dream is who you are. And if you can't make those changes, you'll get there. Um, and back to the Bible, not the Bible, but there's a show called The Chosen, and I watched a clip of it. There was a man possessed by a demon attacking Jesus' followers, and when Jesus came by, he released the demon from that man, and he held that man, and he said, "You're safe now. You're here. I'm here for you. Who are you?" Like, Jesus was there for someone else in a really hard time. And if it's not Jesus, I think there's someone in this life who's here for you. Um, if you don't know who or what that is, because you don't trust the world around you, because the people around you are either bigots or they're too full of nihilism, you know, join me in this journey with Fries on Ryes. Um, I have hope that the world will be more full of love in the future. I know that we can't get rid of darkness completely, but it's a future we'll work on together. And for some of us, maybe God will be on that path. For some of us, it'll just be their own grit and determination. But soar like an eagle. This is America. God wants you to love others and be loved. Um, Maybe you didn't grow up drowning in inspiration and direction, but every day you wake up a different person. Every day you wake up with a new goal, a new destination, a new hope. You're one step closer to whatever enlightenment and happiness and joy is. Um, this is the longest episode so far. I'm not doing this again, I think. I've definitely probably lost a lot of followers, and I've probably definitely made upset a lot of people. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate from this point on. But that's okay. The world's. I've accepted that it's full of a lot of darkness, but that's not going to stop me from loving one another. It's not going to stop me from loving you. Because it's just not. Whatever it is, however I was raised, whatever circumstances that put me to be here, it made me who I am. And I love you, whoever you are. Whatever you've done in your life, whatever mistakes you've made, whatever wrong path you have chosen to take in your life, you can turn around. And if you feel like you can't turn around because of one reason or another, then just keep going. Keep going until you find yourself walking into a mirror and walking the other direction. Um, Reflect, grow, just be yourself. If you enjoyed this episode, it'd be awesome if you can give us a like. If you think someone else will enjoy this episode, it'd be great if you can give us a share. And if you have any questions or comments for us, please leave them in the comment section down below. if you want to join me on this journey with Fries on Ryes to build a community of just love and sharing and feeding others, it'd be awesome if you could join us and subscribe. A lot of it is just me doing things at my own pace and going back and forth. And you know what? I think that's just an example of life. I think that's just an example of what we have to go through in business and the direction we want to go. Um, yeah. See you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry if I sounded hateful in any of this or ignorant. Um, all I know is I'm here for you. And Valentine's Day just, it got me really thinking about my goals and love. And I wanted to share what I could with you while I can. So, goodbye for now. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.